what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, but Timothy rocks for Rock and Metal Thrive. Wish you guys a happy Thursday. It is July 8th in this day and age, and well, this one's an interesting podcast because we get to talk with the band Resolve from France. Yes, their bassist, Robin, is here to talk with us today, and you want to know how bad we want to do this episode? You want to know how? I was up at 5 in the morning to record this bad boy. Oh yeah, it's a weekday that I record this on. It's 5 in the freaking morning that I record this on. But guess what? I want to do this because this band kicks ass, especially if you're fans of bands like Bury Tomorrow, Fit for a King. You're going to want to check out Resolve. Find out all about what they're up to during this whole entire pandemic 2020, what the state of the world is right now over in their part of the world in France when it comes to live shows returning in 2021 overseas, especially if you're over in Europe, though, over by where you guys are. And we also talk about one of their brand new songs called Seasick Sailor. However, their newest song, Beautiful Hell, came out after we record this episode, but we will have it in the description for the podcast for you to check that out. And also, the meaning of Seasick Sailor when we go into it, oh, you're going to want to check that one out. So are you ready? Because Robin is here with us. Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This band comes from Aspiring Empire Records, and my God, I've already interviewed one of their bands beforehand, even before jumping in a lot of this stuff, and I love their sound, love their stuff, and once I got connected with Absolute PR, I'm like, holy shit, can I get as many of these as possible on? Listening through it, listening to this band, I'm like, yeah, let's make this happen. And I didn't care if I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to make this happen, to bring this to you guys, because it is totally worth it after listening to music. So please welcome from the band Resolve all the way out of France, please welcome Robin. So Robin, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
How's everything?
Hi, everyone.
How's everything going over in France in this, day and age in the world?
Honestly, not that bad these days. Things are starting to look up. So yeah, the mood is brightening by the day, honestly.
That's good to hear, because the last time I've talked to a couple of different European bands, things were not looking very good. But then again, it might depend on the country.
There's been a big leap, in the last month, I'd say. We finally caught up on the vaccine and everything. So that's definitely a good change.
That's good to hear. Is there anything coming up with live shows? Because there's a very few things I've been seeing from over in Europe. I've seen Download Fest was going to be doing something rather small. And then I've seen as maybe tours for really late in the year, beginning of next year. And then maybe the small Bring Me the Horizon run in, September, October that they're doing. I haven't really seen anything much yet. But then again, a lot of stuff happening over here in the U.S. It's there's a lot of different tours that are being announced for September, October, some August as well. So again, things seem like they're coming back, but I know more about what's going on here than there. So I have to ask.
Well, I'd say it's coming back. I actually got a ticket for a show that's supposed to happen in maybe 10 or 15 days. But because there's always it's outside, it's seated, and it's socially distanced. So these kind of events are definitely coming back, I'd say during the summer. But what we are playing is small club shows packed with people and standing up. So that's gonna take, I think, still a bit of time to come back. I don't know. I'm not rolling out shows in Europe by the end of the year. But I can't say that it's certain yet. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, supposedly shows are coming back by small steps,
Yeah, totally understandable. Because right now, over here in the US, it's the shows that are happening at the beginning of summer. We're starting to see stuff that's going to be smaller venues are having shows, but it's all standing no social distance or anything because of the way things are going over here.
Yeah.
There's been some where it's seated and distance, like the Corey Taylor solo run that he's doing. But then once July hits, it seems like there's some that start picking up. But then that's when the first big rock music festival gets going in July.
That's what I was gonna say. I see those being announced in the US for July, August.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first.
I'm not reading these out, honestly.
Yeah,
Seems you guys are doing great. So
yeah, the first big one's happening in July in in like Western Wisconsin, and that's where I'm from. So I'm going to that one, and it's kind of like the
fuck,
pilot
man.
one.
That's gonna be so special.
Oh, it's gonna be us. And then once September hits, that's when all of them start happening once again. It's just like an influx of every single festival that you possibly could think of. It's like, okay, like second weekend in September, these two major ones are happening at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's gonna be a thing here as well. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of shows, a lot of options. Sure.
I'll put it this way: after that second festival, because it's like a 4-day thing, and I'm camping out there, my body's probably gonna want to kill itself due to the fact that I'm gonna be at as many shows as I possibly can, beat as many mosh pits as I possibly can. By the time the festival is over, I'm probably gonna be laying on the ground, just like, all right, Kevin, time to go home. And I'm just gonna say, you're gonna have to drag me into the car. There's no way I'm getting up because I'm just gonna feel beaten, battered, and bruised. And everyone's gonna ask me, was it worth it? Worth it. Totally worth it.
Fuck yeah, it was 1 year and a half of restraint. So I guess we're gonna go pretty hard.
Oh, absolutely. The one show I've been at so far was definitely not a mosh pit inducing show, but it felt incredible just to be back out there in the crowd and just talking with people that I have no idea who they are. I've never met these people before in my life, just talking to them, getting to know them, having a good time. And then when the band comes up and sings their song, I was drunk. Everyone has a beer in their hand. Everyone's like palling around, having a great time. Just like, this is what we miss. This is really what we wanted to have back. It was beautiful.
We got bars opening back like 10 days ago here in France, and it already felt so good. Like, just like you said, just to see like people that you just don't see every day. That's like seeing someone else than the 3 or 4 people you can see every day. Yeah.
It's like, I haven't seen you since the world completely shut down. How's it going, man?
Yeah, and that makes for some good conversations too, because there's a lot to catch up. So
yeah, there's a lot to catch up on, because who knows what might have happened to these people compared to yourself over the past, year and a half. Everyone was kind of locked in their houses. So what was all going on there? What did you guys do during this whole entire time? All of a sudden you see some people, it's like, oh man, you really let yourself go there, didn't you? Or you really just like took the time and just really went after it.
Or the opposite.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of people really get into like sports and fitness and everything. So
I'll say I've seen the opposite over on this end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen the opposite as well, for sure.
Yeah, but it happens solely. It happens. It's totally understandable with what we all went through. So,
yeah, exactly.
But it's just nice the fact that during a lot of the past year, it seemed like, there's a chance for things to come back, in 2021, but it seemed like the date and the time was always moving backwards due to the fact that we didn't have a specific answer. And once this vaccine rollout started happening, especially here in the US, when all of a sudden it was available to every single adult, it was,
and it actually worked.
And it was a moment in time where all of a sudden we finally had this like definitive feeling of, okay, this is when it's going to end. This is when things are going to finally get back to normal. It was the fact that we had a date. We had this new renewed sense of hope to the point where, we're starting to see concerts come back. We're starting to see all these different announcements. We're seeing as much new music come out as possible. And it gets you more excited for the fact that this is all coming back. We're all going to get back to what we love doing, whether it's you guys being up on stage playing, whether it's me being in a mosh pit and potentially getting my face split open again. But worth it. Again, worth it.
Yeah, like you guys, especially in America, have had a really tough 2020. So I think you guys really deserve a break as well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something we really need in the end, just because of everything that happened in 2020, especially when it comes to rock and metal music, no matter what it is. When you go to those shows, it just doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you believe in, what your political thoughts are. What matters is the fact that when you're at a show, the band that you're seeing has a positive impact on you. And the band that you're seeing has a positive impact on everyone else around you. But the reasons for that are completely different. But because everyone's sharing this positive emotion, that everyone's just having a good time, and you just end up enjoying yourself to the point where all of a sudden you create this like whole entire concert going family around you. And I miss my concert going family. There's people I've seen all the time. I have no idea what their names are, but I miss seeing them.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
it's really something. All right, Robin, before we really jump into your music as well, one thing I always like to do start this podcast is ask you 3 separate questions to get some people like to know a little bit more about you. And the first 2, very simple, very easy.
All right.
The third one is my favorite. So First is, what is your name? Second is, when it comes to Resolve, what do you do in the band? And third is, I want to know a little fun fact and fun, interesting story about yourself or your time in the band, whatever it might be, that will hopefully make me fall out of my chair laughing and wake up my landlord for, rolling around on the floor laughing hysterically. If you need examples, I've got examples from other bands of crazy stories, but I'll let you take it away.
You know what? I think I got one. I think I got a good one. So,
yeah.
All right. So, my name is Robin Maria. I'm from France. I live in Lyon, France. And in Resolve, I play bass, and I also produce some music. And I do we all are really involved with everything that is not just our instrument. So on stage I play bass, but I do all sorts of things within the band. And to answer your third question, I think something I thought of when you mentioned it was not my proudest moment, but something that I think I can share. So we were on a tour. I think it was back in 2018. Second date of the tour, we stopped for lunch on a supermarket parking lot, got some things to eat, and then went on our way back. And 2 minutes after, I realized that I had left my backpack on the parking lot, backpack containing the fucking MacBook that we needed to play the show, my passport, a camera, and basically everything that we needed for the tour. So we just drive back like crazy, go back to the parking lot, and it was gone. Yeah, that was our faces at the moment. So we start running around everywhere, asking everybody. But the story has a happy ending because we were in Switzerland, and people don't steal in Switzerland. So obviously someone had just brought it back to the to the front of the store, and to the person that was to the security person, let's say. So after a good 5 minutes of just running around and thinking in my head, oh my God, what have I just done? This. Plus the tour was shaping up to be cool, one of our coolest yet. So I was did I just fucking end the whole tour with just one single moment of errors? And we eventually got the bag back and just and went back on our way. We actually got pulled over by the police 2 hours later at the Italian border, and they didn't want to let us go. So it was a tough day, and like I said, not my proudest moment, but I don't know. That's a funny story, and from the look on your face, it always oh.
Well, yeah. The fact of the matter that you left your backpack in the middle of a parking lot and in a different country, nonetheless, not with your passport, but also the computer that you need to run the whole entire show off of.
Yeah.
And the fact that, again, it was returned to the front of the store. It's whoever lost this or might come back and try and get it because of the contents that are in there. I mean, if you would have done that here in America, someone would have opened up that backpack, saw the computer, they would have just taken it and just ran. There'd be no way in hell you'd be getting it back.
Had it happened anywhere else in the world, we were screwed. But thankfully, I got the good luck of for getting this back in Switzerland. So, and middle of nowhere Switzerland, not even the big cities, which can be more everywhere else sort of, but we were countryside, just small village. So in my head the whole time I was honestly, there's if I have one chance, it's today, because there's no way that somebody's gonna steal this. They all drive fucking BMWs and Audis and stuff. They wouldn't care about a MacBook,
It's a computer, huh?
Cool. I already have 6 at home, so
yeah. It's do we really need to take this? But if it wasn't a bigger city, it's just you have the opportunity for that to be taken and then not returned is a lot larger when it's in a smaller town, especially in a smaller, more affluent, a more, I'd say, rich area. You're gonna end up getting something like that because people have what they need. It's not like they're gonna want to take something.
Yeah, and and you'd have to be a really shitty human being too, because you open the bag, you realize this whole person's life is in this bag. If I steal it, who knows what's gonna happen,
Yeah, especially with your passport being in there as well, and you being in Switzerland, not France. Because if you would have lost your passport and you're in France, okay, it's a lot easier to deal with because you are in your home country. If you're not in your home country and lose your passport, I know there's ways you can get it back. I might still be in
Switzerland.
Yeah. I know there's ways you can get it back, but it takes a lot longer of a time to get it back because, all right, you lost it while you're over somewhere. I mean, when I was over in Europe in 2019, it was I always kept my password. I'm like, okay, it's in my backpack, and so is my computer. Same kind of deal as you. I'm like, I am not losing this whatsoever. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, once I get to the hotel wherever I was at for when I was in Amsterdam, I'm like, okay, I'm keeping this here, keeping this in the corner. I am not touching that thing until I leave because I do not want to end up getting caught to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to leave. I need to be back in America. I need to be back in America. I need to be back home. Where the hell is this thing? I don't know. And all of a sudden now I'm scrambling around. I'm stuck in Amsterdam for 3 weeks. Actually thinking about that might not have been the worst idea.
Maybe not. Yeah, you can joke with this stuff for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's you can, but like when it happens to you, like in the moment, you don't want to joke about it at all because it's fresh in your mind. It's in the moment, and this is all you're really caring about. But if it's something where you know it's not in the moment, it's after the fact, especially maybe after some time has passed, you can look back at it and laugh at what had happened, or in your case, what happened, but then what could have happened had that backpack not been returned.
Yeah, and that made me a lot more cautious. So in the end, yes, it's a win.
So now is it just whenever you go somewhere with your laptop and your passport, it's like you have your backpack on, but then you also have like a padlock that locks the straps to you so you can't take it off?
No, it's not to that point, but yeah, just like from this moment, I just couldn't leave a place without double and triple checking everything, like every time. I mean, I don't ever want to be in this position again because I was feeling so bad, like not only for myself, but my mistake would have ended the tour for like 4 other people. So that was maybe what I was most concerned about, honestly. Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me.
Yeah, and especially because you were going from Switzerland to Italy at that point as well. Were you guys on a whole entire run throughout Europe at that point?
Not through like the whole of Europe, but yeah, it was Switzerland. It was, I think there was some Germany, some of the UK. We finished up in the UK.
Oh, not bad, especially with the fact that I know Germany is just when it comes to anything rock and metal, it's just massive over there.
They're insane. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of mad about because I was supposed to go over there in what was it, middle of 20 or like September 2020. Because I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to see all this different stuff. I'm gonna go to Germany. I'm gonna end up going to Oktoberfest and trying to see as many shows as possible. And then of course 2020 happened and that all took a nosedive. And now 2021, it's like, yeah, everything's starting to open back up, but I have no idea. But the thing is, I have no idea what to expect when it comes to international travel, especially not just like from one European country to the next, but especially with me being from the United States. Just, of course, we're in a completely different part of the world. I'm not sure what's going to be like going from one country to another because I'm supposed to go to like 5 or 6 different ones.
We have the European Union, which allows us to still like travel pretty freely. But you as an American, you don't have this. So every country, you have to do like all the paperwork and everything. So
yeah, and again, when I was over there in 2019, it wasn't hard at all to go from one country to another. But it's just with everything that happened with the pandemic, everything that happened with COVID, I am not sure what restrictions are in place from country to country, because when I was talking with other people over there, it's like it depends on how the country is doing, because what happens if I get into a country and all of a sudden they have a resurgence of COVID and they shut down for 2 weeks and I'm supposed to leave that next day. Now I'm stuck there for at least 2 weeks at the very least. But then when it comes to, okay, we're opening back up again, you guys can move around. Okay, now I'm from a different country as well. Going from one spot to the next, especially from if I'd be coming from a country that had a COVID resurgence. All right, now there's even more paperwork to deal with, more restrictions to deal with, and I might not get back for a whole 2 months.
Yeah, like remember back in March 2020 when we thought this was all gonna last for like a couple of weeks, 1 month tops.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, this ain't gonna hopefully this won't last too long, and it was right when everything was starting to shut down. I'm like, okay, I can see like the concert I'm supposed to go to in March and April, they're going to get postponed. But the one that I was supposed to go see Deftones in August of 2020, I'm like, oh no, that one's fine. That one's fine. All of a sudden, like it was May and I just thought it's going to be rescheduled for 2021. Pretty much the same day. I just said, shit. That was all I could say. Is shit. Because I was ready to go to that show. I'm just like, okay, that one's going to get pushed back. And good thing it was August.
Has it been pushed back to next year then?
No, it's happening in August of this year.
Oh, sick. So with Gojira, right?
Yeah, with Gojira and Poppy.
Awesome. What a lineup.
So I'm excited for that one, but then like it's of course I like there's about maybe half of the shows that I was ready to go to in 2020. Those are the shows like I still have the ticket stubs for them, but they got canceled outright. So now I'm just like, okay, I'm using these ticket stubs as bookmarks because I'm not getting rid of them. It's like weird. It's just to look at a time like going back and enjoy what happened because like I'm reading a book right now and all of a sudden it's like my bookmark is this ticket stub I had from a tour with Hollywood Undead headlining with their support being Bad Wolves, Fire from the Gods, and From Ashes to New. I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to use that ticket stub as a little bookmark. I've got a couple others that are still there. But then
it might be worth a lot of money in a few years.
Exactly. And I'm hanging on to a bunch of them as well, too, because there are still maybe 3 or 4 shows that I have bought that they're still technically postponed and they've never been rescheduled and I haven't got my money back on yet. So I'm like, what's going on with these?
Yeah, just like you said, bookmarks sounds good. That's about all they're good for.
It's a practical use until all of a sudden, give it like maybe 10, 15 years, and anything that might have been related to 2020 might become incredibly popular with different memorabilia sites. Because, I mean, take a look what's happening now. NFTs are becoming a huge thing. Pokemon cards, any kind of sports trading cards. The market for those is absolutely massive right now. But then when it comes to the 2020 stuff as well, the fact of the matter is, if it's going to have that date 2020 on there, and it never happened, because of the small amount of things that are going to be out there that have that, because, you know, okay, there was only a certain amount, like take a look at concert tickets or like any kind of sport tickets, for example. Yeah. There's only a certain amount of those that were even available for that event, for that game, whatever it might be. But
like I guess, like you said, for a lot of bigger sports events, most of the tickets were probably already sold by the time the pandemic happened. So yeah, like you said, this is gonna be like collectible stuff for sure.
It's gonna be interesting. So I'm definitely keeping that Hollywood Undead ticket. I'm keeping the which one is it? I might have. Oh no, that one got rescheduled. I'm just trying to think of anything. As I Lay Dying, they were supposed to come here in June of 2020, and then it got rescheduled for March, and they scrapped the whole entire tour. Still got my ticket for that. Sleeping with Sirens, Amity Affliction. That one, I still have no idea what the hell's going on with. But I'm like, I'm holding on to this thing.
So many tours, man. So many tours.
Yeah, rest in peace to as many tours as possible. So when everything happened, especially in 2020, did you guys have any tours that were being planned in the works or any tours that were going on that got affected by it?
Yeah, you could say that. Basically, 2020 was supposed to, like, we got our first sort of little break in 2019. So 2020 was the year we were supposed to start like touring more actively, and we had the biggest tour we'd ever done yet. That was supposed to start on March 18th. So we were literally like doing the final rehearsal when we got the email that confirmed that it was going to be canceled. I mean, we saw it coming, like, I want to say even maybe weeks before. But yeah, this one was a big hit. Then we had some, like, the biggest festival we had ever done scheduled for the summer. All of them got canceled as well, obviously. So yeah, you could say we really got hit hard. I mean, it could have been worse because the ones that got it the worst are the bands that had just released an album, because you're like absolutely screwed. There's no way you're gonna be able to defend this album the way it was intended to. So thankfully that was not our case. So that it could have been worse, but yeah, touring wise, it was a big hit for sure.
Oh, I know what you mean, because I got to talk with Mixie from the band Stitched Up Heart, and they released their most recent album on March 13th of 2020. Same thing with Code Orange as well. So I'm like, you guys are coming out. Like, I get it. It's you're putting it on the same release date because you had that all planned out. And at that point, the shutdown had, especially here in America, it was starting to happen, but it hadn't fully happened yet. No one knew what to expect.
Yeah, we were a bit early on this. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh shit, that's interesting. But then we'll see what happens where it comes to where I looked at it was the bands that had been releasing during that time, especially during the shutdown, if they had new music, it was honestly more helpful because after about 2 weeks, it was here in America, everyone was watching Tiger King on Netflix. But after 2 weeks, it was how much more can you get? How much more can you watch in terms of like, okay, you're going to be watching shows that you continually watch over and over and over again. People are just going to be watching The Office over and over and over again. And just sitting down watching the same old stuff, listening to the same old stuff. They're going to be begging for something new after a couple of weeks. So when like August Burns Red released their album, it was a breath of fresh air, honestly, because they were supposed to like, and then
And
like
I think they charted on like I think it was their highest charting position for this album or something.
Yeah, I think it was. And then at the end of the month, all of a sudden, Trivium comes out and says, "Fuck it, we're doing it too," and they just push theirs out. And because I know so many they were pushing them back, and I understand why bands push their albums back because you want to be able to release an album and have a full support run on it so that you can promote the album. But at the same time,
and like even just make your money back, that's good because that's the main thing too.
Yeah, but at the same time as well, I was thinking if you're releasing it during a time when people are sitting around doing nothing, craving something new, especially if in the rock and metal aspect, all the shows were going down. It's like, okay, we need something new. Like, just give us something. The bands are releasing during that time. They had a little bit of an interesting kind of growth in that way. I think a great example of that one is From Ashes to New, because I really did not know about them. All of a sudden I was seeing some little things about they were doing with like different cover songs. And then halfway through the first part of the whole entire shutdown here in America, they released their single Panic, and that thing just blew up insanely because it gave people a relevant topic to talk about, especially with its content, but it also gave people a nostalgia factor because it had this newer feel on like a Linkin Park inspired track. So everyone was kind of starting to get behind it. I really got behind that track as well. So I do understand it, but going back to with you and Resolve, so you guys had this whole entire tour planned. It completely got canceled right at the outset, right before it started. But you guys did see it coming a little bit. I remember seeing, I think it was like around March 12th or March 13th. There were a lot of bands from America that were over in Europe, and it was the travel ban went into effect on the morning of Saturday, March 14th. So like the 12th and the 13th, seeing the posts from all these bands like scrambling just to get out of there, just to get home before the travel ban went into effect for the COVID-19 pandemic. It was definitely a weird time to just kind of be a part of in a way and just see everything that happened.
But you know what? Like, I want to give credit though to the fans, because like we personally, when this happened, like a couple of days later, we just like reached out and we're like, all right, so honestly, like we had like all the merch printed already. We are like this deep in the hole, so here's everything that we had planned for the tour. If you want to buy something and just like support us and try and make some money back, and like people responded like they never did before. And I think the same went for every band. So really, like I want to give props to the fans for supporting the artist at this time, because I think it saved a lot of bands, but like back in those days.
Oh, I think so too. And again, props to the fans on that one, because I think we all kind of saw what was happening. And even though when it came to finances, I think one of the big things, especially from the early part of it, was because we weren't sure how long it was going to last. We were expecting maybe 2 weeks to a month in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we've got enough savings where all of a sudden it's like throwing some money to support some of these bands, buy some merch from some of these bands. Yeah, go for it. Why not? I did a good amount of that as well. I kind of had to stop doing that around like July and August. I'm like, I'm buying way too much.
Yeah, I mean, you can only buy so much before it becomes a problem. So
it became a point where my closet, just like I was taking a look at the shirts that were in there. It was just filled with Rise Against and Ice Nine Kills t-shirts. It was pretty much like I had here's this group. Then it's a really large group between the two of them, and I'm like, and then here's the rest. Like the piles were the exact same.
Yeah,
looking like, what the hell am I actually doing? I'm like, I could be spending this money on doing more stuff for the podcast. I could spend this more money on equipment. I'm like, but then again, I kind of am spending this money on like the podcast and all the videos and stuff, because during these episodes, I wear these shirts anyway. So why the hell not? I mean, I bought this one during the pandemic as well. I'm like, hell yeah, let's just keep going with this. And even with like some of the smaller bands as well, because there were a couple of small bands that were doing very small shows even during that time, just because that's what they needed to do in order to make money. That's what they needed to do in order just to keep going by the time this ended, that they'd be able to keep going on. And like the shows were like rather small, maybe like 50, 60 people would show up in a larger area, kind of stay distance from each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I've had these bands in the podcast. I've become friends with these bands, and I miss live music too. So yeah, I'm going. Even if the drive was 3.5 hours to the middle of nowhere, I still went.
That's pretty cool.
So I was like,
I didn't know that. Still, there were still like smaller shows happening.
They were very small. There was one big one that ended up happening, and it was the Sturgis Biker Rally. So a lot of motorcycle people that were going out to Sturgis, South Dakota. and they did not stop for 2020. Like they just went full force on everything, and there were a lot of bands that played out there as well.
All right.
And they were looking at that being like, especially when the surge happened in September, October, November here in America, it was like that kind of might have been the catalyst behind it, because you've got 150,000 people in the same area. And it's like, okay, yeah, they're all in the same area for a weekend. That's fine. But then they all go home.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is, like, I'm not going to give any bands any sort of grief or anything if they played during 2020, because I understand the fact that, for a lot of people in these bands, this is their livelihood. This is what they do.
Yeah.
So when it came to just trying to survive in order to make sure that by the time this ended, they were still going to be able to play music and still be able to be in the band they wanted to be in, they're going to have to take these risks when it came to just like some of these really small shows, when it came to some of these just like, okay, going out there and potentially taking some of the negative repercussions that might come from it in terms of, I was talking with somebody else recently as well when it comes to out in California, a lot of venues that were out there are kind of blacklisting some bands that are out there because during 2020 they were playing some rather small shows to try and keep going. And it's like, well, because everyone else was stuck in and you kind of went out against the rules, we're not going to let you play at our venue. I'm like, but they were just trying to survive at that point.
Yeah. Like to add to that, maybe like it'd be too easy to put the blame on the bands solely, because assuming every people in the audience was just gonna like isolate for let's say 10 15 days after the show, or just like not see people at risk, like that would have been fine. But the problem is that lots of those people just didn't care at all and just went on with their life like nothing happened. So
yeah, totally understandable with that, because I mean, even when it's like, okay, we're gonna come here, but then go home, it's like, yeah, sure. And then when all of a sudden, like the here in America, when they said that you don't have to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated, it's like, well, then how do you prove that? So it's like, no one's really gonna care at all. It's like if you walk into a store, it's like, oh, you have to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated, but you're not gonna check. I'm just gonna say I'm vaccinated and just say screw it. I mean, I'll put it this way, though. I did get my vaccine just because I didn't know what to expect in terms of concerts coming back. But if for some reason someone was going to require it, I wanted to make sure that if it was a show I wanted to go to, I was covered.
Yeah, I got my vaccine too for this exact reason. So
yeah, I mean my arm might have almost fallen off because of it, and I had to sew it back on. But you know what? It was worth it. I still got it. I still got function.
I was fine personally. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all I had was like right where they jabbed it both times. It was like, okay, it's sore in that spot, but otherwise outside of it, I know some people that had some nasty side effects who have basically just kind of like, okay, they felt like really sick for 24 hours.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I was just nervous. I'm like, okay, I'm getting the shot in the morning. I got to go to work, and then I'm going to the gym afterwards to work out. Hopefully it doesn't take hold of me when I'm in the gym. All of a sudden I'm running on a treadmill, like I'm 5 miles in, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh, and then fall face first.
Gotta go home.
Yeah, fall face first, and all of a sudden it's like the thing's still running my face against it, and all of a sudden next thing you know, I look like Two-Face from Batman.
Too bad, man.
It's not that bad. But during the time of 2020, after everything that tour got canceled, when you guys were, kind of everyone like in the world was kind of forced in their homes, what did you guys do with Resolve in order to make sure that by the time we're happening now, where everything's starting to open back up again, we're starting to get back live shows, how'd you make sure that you were going to be ready to go back out on the road and really go back out and play live shows and even perform and, create new music as well during this whole entire pandemic time?
Well, we never really stopped working, even though like shows got canceled. So even before COVID and everything, we were working on the, I'm gonna like choose my words wisely here, because we haven't really announced anything yet, but I mean, people are not dumb, and they can clearly they can clearly see that we are up to something.
Oh, totally understandable. But, just if you want to announce something, whatever it might be. If you don't want to,
I just won't say the A word. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Let's just assume. So yeah, we work on this like pretty hard. So like I got some extra time to mix, which was cool. We tried the Twitch thing for a while, like in May, June, bit of July, because we just missed the connection, and it was really cool. It was really cool. Like people really liked it, and we got to build a bit of a deeper relationship with a lot of the fans. So that was really nice, but it was also really, really time consuming. So we just had to like put this on the side and focus on more stuff because working on the A world, you also have to shoot videos, you have to do like all the more creative and visual side. So that kept us like really busy for the whole of the year, and even now because lots of stuff is ready and ready to go, but there's also lots of stuff that needs still to be worked on. So yeah, that in a way, sometimes I'm thinking like, what if it didn't happen? Like I seeing how long it took us to just like get to the point where we're happy with everything. Like if we had to tour at the same time, I don't know who would have done it. I think in like from this angle, it sort of helped with the final result of what we're gonna announce sooner. Sooner than later. And sorry, what was the actual question again?
No, I mean, you pretty much
Got a
answered
bit
the question. I
discussed.
just want to know what you guys were up to in 2020 when everything got shut down. And I do understand what you're saying as well, where especially with, okay, now you have all this time to focus in on whatever you're working on, some newer stuff, as a lot of bands did as well. So that's kind of where I want to throw that in there, where it seems like every kind of band I talk to, it's, okay, what were you guys doing during this time? It's like we were writing, we were working on stuff. If we got to record some stuff early on, we were recording it, and then we're mixing it, mastering it. We're trying to take care of everything from that aspect. And if in 2021, I mean, I think it's showing dividends where the majority of the new music that I see being released, whether it's album, whether it's singles, whatever it might be, the majority of it I'm seeing is rather high quality. It's really
Yeah,
good. And I think
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and I think from a mixing standpoint on your end, what it allowed you to do, especially with all this time, is it took a lot of the pressure off of maybe hitting a deadline that you had to hit.
yeah, because
So
especially because there was no deadline, honestly. Because as we are still like a tiny band at the time the pandemic hit, like we were unsigned, so like we knew that we had to get going and try to be quick to not lose like people's attention too much. But at the same time, like we also knew that we wanted to release an album like on a label. So it was also like a big part of the year to just like slowly build the team because we already had a manager at the time and a booking agent, but it also took a lot of time to build the team around them, and especially because people just like were in the dark regarding like the future. So lots of people were really cautious, and things I think took a little more time than they should have or they usually do. So yeah, that was also a big part of our year, just building a team around the band so that we can speak today.
absolutely. And instead of just focusing in on, okay, everything happened and all this stuff's happening in 2020, everything's getting shut down, this tour is getting canceled, instead of focusing on what could have been had this not happened, what it seems like you did is, okay, this is the situation we're in now. What can we do to make sure that by the time we come out of this whole entire pandemic, out of this whole entire shutdown thing, that we are prepared, we are set and ready to go, for building a team up around you so that everything that you do following basically following the end of the pandemic or the end of the social pandemic, where all of a sudden you guys are able to go out and tour again, you have the team around you to really maximize on that. And then when it comes to making new music as well, yeah, you have stuff recording, you're mixing it, but it allows you to try many different things to maximize the sound, maximize what you're going for.
Yeah,
Because
really got deep.
yeah, because now you have this time to freely experiment. You don't have a deadline that you have to hit. It's not like, okay, we're working on new music and it has to be up by this day so that when we go on this tour, we can play it and we can use it for support as well. But if it's not ready, it's like, okay, do we push it out so that we can support it, or do we hold it back? But then it's like, okay, why are you holding this back kind of thing? Instead, having the time to be able to work on it and try as many different things as possible when it comes to new music, you might have actually opened up some other things creatively as well that you might not have noticed about yourself, about the band as well during that
probably,
time, because you had that large amount of time, that large amount of freedom to work with.
Yeah, and like even just like you also realize how fragile all of this is. So that just gives you a new perspective. Because like I remember a time, maybe like let's say October of 2020. Like for a while, a lot of people just thought that maybe life was never gonna get back to normal. Maybe like it was all over. So yeah, you just like gives you reevaluate your life choices for a bit, and then you're like, no, no, screw this. Like there's just no way, and we're gonna keep like even if we, I think even if shows never come back, we'd still be a band because you can also do lots of really cool stuff online. I don't know if you've seen the this live show we've just done on YouTube with Landmarks because that kept us really busy during the pandemic as well because we shot it really earlier in the year, so that was a really cool project to do as well.
I did not see that. You worked with Landmarks on that?
Yeah, like Landmarks are good friends of ours. Do you know the band Landmarks?
I do. I'm supposed to be interviewing them the day after we're shooting this one.
Oh, nice. They're really cool guys. So yeah, we did. We were supposed to. I mean, we still have a tour coming up with them, supposedly in October 21. It's the whole of Europe and the UK. So it's still a bit up in the air, But we thought, you know what, we're gonna take the whole tour package, bring it to our HQ because I mean, it's right now we have a studio and a warehouse downstairs. And so everyone just like set up and we got a camera team and everything, and we just like recorded the show as if it was just happening. And yeah, we premiered it on YouTube on like this past Wednesday, and the reaction were unbelievable. Like you could tell people were really enjoying it and almost felt like it was a real show, which is something that we really felt while shooting it. So was an awesome experience. You should check it out if you enjoyed it, Max. It's really
I'm
good.
I'm gonna have to. I mean, again, the day we're shooting this as well, my favorite band released an album, so I'm like, I'm kind of gonna be focused on that for the primary part of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, but hopefully, the time I'm like, okay, I kind of need a break from it, even though I'll probably listen like 6 or 7 times through. It's like, okay, might need a break from it. Then I can go to that and just enjoy some of the live stream stuff as well. Because when all like those live stream shows were happening, I was concerned to see what was gonna go on because I remember right as the shutdown began, it was like the first day, like everything kind of started shutting down was on March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. So the band the Dropkick Murphys, they always do something big on St. Patrick's Day. So they did like the first live stream concert I can remember. And it really wasn't anything special. It was like they were just kind of in their rehearsal space and they just played for 2 hours and that was it. But of course, because no one knew what was going on, doing something like that I thought was perfect. But what I was always curious to see was as this pandemic rolls on, what are these live stream shows going to end up being? Because if it's going to be bands trying to do live stream shows the same way they would do a regular live show, it's not going to necessarily work because you don't have the fans there. You don't have that kind of experience there. It's very similar to what happened when televisions first came out and all of a sudden you saw like all the ads and all the programs that were on there were very similar structure to what they were on radio. But now because you're in a completely different medium, you have to end up making these different changes. And I saw a bunch of bands doing a couple of different things as well. Like I saw Ice Nine Kills. They kind of played like they did like a re-recording of a show they did back in November of 2019, but they put like a whole entire like small horror movie in between each song.
Oh,
and then I'm trying to think who Falling in Reverse did this whole entire like green screen thing. It was the first one I'm like, okay, that's kind of fine. The second one they did was a lot better though. Motionless White did a whole entire like gothic thing behind it, so they put a lot of trying to think some other ones. Hollywood Undead did a whole entire thing where they basically performed and had a house party behind it as well. So they had this whole entire like moniker of that, and it made a lot of sense where all of a sudden bands were starting to do this more live stream stuff, and they're starting to add more of their own personality to it. So it became more of like you're watching a show, but you're also watching a movie at the same time as well, and it kind of made a lot more sense. But one thing I'm going to be curious to see is, and I want to get your take on this as well, as bands get to do more live performances, as we get back to that kind of thing, do you think live stream events and live stream shows might continue in some capacity?
I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think it will. I think I can see something happening, which would be like the bands will have to like schedule, okay, so on this tour, we're live streaming this show for all the people that just can't attend the tour due to being like in different geographical zones or anything. Yeah, I could see live streams going on this way, like it becoming a standard practice to stream one show of your tour, or maybe like the first show, or when you're still in the production rehearsal and everything, as a way to also drive ticket sales. That I think live streaming is going to be around for a while, or just band people taking over Twitch and like giving a bit more of the day-to-day stuff and a bit more insights. Yeah, I think all those things are here to stay, and personally, I'm all for it.
I'll say one thing I've been kind of thinking about and talking with people is when it comes to everyone being on Twitch as well during this time and streaming everything possible. When tours come back, I was wondering how that's going to end up continuing on, because now it's like, okay, you know, people are going to still be doing the same stuff they're all doing. People out there are still going to be watching these musicians on Twitch, on Instagram, whatever it might be. But now that they're going to be on tour, you're going to get a completely different side of them. So still opening up to Twitch in that realm and streaming, and potentially it's like, okay, we're kind of doing this thing on tour today. We're kind of on the bus. We're kind of hanging out right now. So let's kind of hop on Twitch. Let's do some fun stuff while we're all on the bus together. That's going to be
interesting. Because I haven't seen maybe Trivium like Matt Heafy, but I haven't really seen any band do that before the pandemic. But I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to do that after the pandemic. Yeah. Like if you take Stray from the Path, for example, like their drummer is killing it on Twitch. Like they just launched the band's own Twitch channel. So I could see them like continuing on and just like you say, giving a bit more of the backstage life on Twitch, stuff like that. I think that's going to be awesome. And I think fans would be thrilled to see this.
I think if anyone should do it, especially, I mean, look at Matt Heafy or look at Ronnie Radke, if they end up taking the run on that and just really focusing in on already now, we're on tour, we're doing all this stuff, but like maybe like a half hour during the day, all of a sudden they jump on Twitch while they're on the bus, and now they've got all the other guys that are there as well. What happens if they're just like messing around and just like potentially like trying to potentially come with an idea for a song or something while they're waiting there? And use Matt Heath, for example. Say he's on Twitch and they're just messing around doing this stuff, and you might end up finding in that the moment where they create one of their best songs or where they come up with the idea for it, and then you see where it takes shape. But you can see the beginning part of it. And also the fact that, you know, as a common fan, you always wonder what's happening on those buses, what's happening on those tours, what are some of the crazy stories that happen, especially when you hear stories about like hair metal bands from the 80s, when you hear stories about what Motley Crue did. It's what happens.
I don't think that's stuff you could do on Twitch. So
no, but what I'm saying is, what happens if you could see a moment that has some sort of like that creates some sort of lore around the band? What happens if you can see it happen live?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it just adds so much more to it. But then also one thing I kind of like what you said was, when you have these tours that are put together, what happens if you do a live stream event maybe as the final stop on the tour, so that everyone that couldn't get out to it, or everyone in different parts of the world that wanted to see you guys perform with a certain band, it gives them the opportunity to actually check that out. Plus, I mean, it's kind of another show right there, and you can always charge, you know, like $5-10 online for that event, like you would a normal show. But of course,
you can make money from live streaming. Like you can definitely make some decent money from this.
Yeah, because you never know what might happen. All of a sudden, it's like, of course, you know, you're going to have different equipment that you're going to have to work with, different cameras, and seeing how that's going to work. Of course, that's going to cost money. But the fact of the matter is, you're giving yourself an opportunity, because you're opening yourself up to, instead of just, you know, maybe 1,000 people in one room, you're opening yourself up to billions of people around the world, potentially. And will billions of people end up buying tickets to the live stream? Of course not. Will a million people buy? Of course not. But what happens if all of a sudden 10,000 people from around the world buy a ticket to that live stream? And
even the people who were at the shows, like earlier shows during the tour, and they want more, well, they buy a ticket. And
there's definitely gonna be people like that, because there are different bands that go on tour, and all of a sudden you see them in different cities, you see them in different states. It's like, because you just really like the band, you really like their live set, and you want to go and see them. Hell, that's going to be me come August and September, because all of a sudden I'm going to be out in Las Vegas for a bachelor party. Oh, shoot, the first night I'm out there, Rise Against is playing out there. Yep, I'm there. 2 weeks later, they're going to be playing in Milwaukee, where I'm from. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm there. Next week, they're going to be at Blue Ridge Rock Festival in Virginia, and I'm going to be at that festival. And guess who I'm seeing when I'm out there? You already guessed it. It's no surprise. But it's just somewhere when you have people that really connect with a band on a personal level, and they have a chance to see something of them live, they're going to end up doing it no matter what it is. If you have a chance to see them in the live stream event, you're going to end up taking that chance, because You get to see your favorite band play live. You get to see certain songs play live. And hell, you might be able to create something for it in yourself all of a sudden. You might be able to create the one-person mosh pit in your living room, start bouncing off the walls. And if you get hurt, it's like, that wall took me out. Now you're going to get in a fight with the wall. Okay, maybe not that way, because that's something I would probably do. But it just adds more potential for fans to get to watch their favorite bands, get to see them live. But also as a band on a monetary side, it gives you a chance to make some more money that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, honestly. Like, it's a bit more work, but I can see like a lot of production companies just like focusing maybe more on putting together these sort of like streaming, like all-in-one solutions. And yeah, everyone's winning there.
Shoot,
So,
now you give me an idea to start something up right after this. Like, okay, what can I do to start up somewhere all of a sudden?
I want 10%.
Right? Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll put you on there. All of a sudden, you're gonna get if it does end up happening, you're gonna get a check in the mail like 5 months out. All of a sudden, what the heck is this for? And and all of a sudden, you're gonna have there's gonna be something in there like a QR code that you scan. It'll take you a link to this episode. You'll be like, oh, now I know what that's from.
Nah, you can keep my share. It's fine.
But still, that's not. I've got a feeling someone's gonna end up doing that just because it gives.
Oh yeah.
But and it's going to be somewhere it's like it has to be there could be multiple of these as well because especially I'm going to use America as an example. There are so many bands that are around here and there are so many bands from so many different states here in the United States. So what happens if all of a sudden, we have this great facility for all these different live streams out in New York and out in Los Angeles, but what about all the bands that are from the Midwest? It's we're going to need to have a space where these bands can go and take care of something like this so they don't have to travel all the way out to the East Coast to go to New York or all the way out to the West Coast to go to LA. So it's like, okay, now we're going to have one in Chicago. Okay, well, what about there's other bands all over the place. Now we're going to have one in Houston. We're going to have one in Philadelphia, have one in Minneapolis, have one in Detroit, have one in Cleveland. Like there's going to be places where you can set all these different things up. But then the issue
I wouldn't be surprised. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Oh, I'll say, but then the issue is going to be is how viable is this going to be? You got to start out somewhere. So, of course, you're going to start out in the bigger spots where you're going to have more bands that could potentially use something like this and then see how it grows from there. But it does give a lot of potential for already, again, like you said, the fans are going to have a chance to see you live if they're not even from the area that you guys are from in the world. But also for the fans that have seen you plenty of times but just want to see you guys again. It gives them another chance at potentially even a cheaper cost because it's, you're going to have to go through, okay, whatever the band's going to charge, whatever they're going to end up charging as like if wherever venue you're going to be performing at in terms of the live stream event. But you're not going to have all these different ticket processing fees, all these different insurance fees that get on top of it as well.
Just the gas to drive to the venue or everything. Yeah. Like for people who just can't afford to go to a lot of shows, they might be stoked to have this option too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even for myself, it's like, would I rather go see a live performance than a live stream one? Absolutely. I think everyone would. But if the only chance you're going to get to see one of your favorite bands for that year is on a live stream performance, let me ask you, why wouldn't you take that? I'm pretty sure you would take that as well. For your favorite band, you didn't get to see them for like maybe a year or two, the only chance was a live stream event, you would definitely jump in on that.
Yeah, I bought tickets for a couple of my favorite artists. So, I mean, live stream tickets. So, yeah.
Which artists are those?
I watched the Architects one, which was very good. The Dua Lipa one as well, on a different sort of music. Honestly, I think that's about the two I watched. But I mean, the two I bought tickets for. But yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, again, totally understandable. I know that Architects one, especially when they drop For Those That Wish to Exist, that thing was going to be massive in terms of what it did for, honestly, what it did for rock music, metalcore, whatever it might be, because it ended up charting #1 in the UK. And like for that's what metalcore band ever charts in the UK? It's like, well, Architects did it, and it just shows that, especially when it comes to rock and metal. I know they're not the most prominent genres in the world right now. Here in the US, it's like they're like 4th or 5th place behind pop music, hip hop, and rap, and then depending on where you are in the country, pop country music. Like it takes like second fiddle. But the crazy thing is it's even before the pandemic, you go to venues that have rock and metal bands there, and if they have other artists there as well, the rock and metal shows seem to be the ones that are still selling out the most.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because heavy music fans are so much more dedicated than your regular music fan. That's right.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's been times
Yeah.
where all of a sudden I've been to a venue here in Milwaukee where it's like, yeah, we've got 3 different stages in this whole entire venue. All 3 will be filled up with bands that night. And wherever the rock and metal band is, they're the ones that have the show that's going to end up having the highest percentage of tickets sold. And by that, I mean, most time it's 100%. And they would end up moving them to a different, like a larger stage just to accommodate more fans. But if you got bands already scheduled for those stages that already sold tickets for those stages, you're not going to end up moving them around. I've seen ones where all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've got a headliner in the top stage, and then we've got like Motionless in White in the basement stage. But then there's this middle stage that's empty. Well, Motionless in White sold out, and they're still wanting to sell tickets, so let's move them up. And then all of a sudden, like, they move them up, and then 2 days later, yeah, those tickets already sold out as well. So it's just like, there's definitely this, there's this fever pitch and there's this dedication when it comes to rock and metal music fans where if you have a chance to see one of your favorite bands, you're going to end up going to see it. If you have a chance to see a band that you're just starting to get into, you're going to want to go and see them live because you're going to end up potentially getting into them more than you did beforehand. It's a whole entire thing. It's so much better to see live music than to just listen to it on the radio, listen to it in your iPod, in your phone, whatever it might be. Or as good as live stream events are, nothing beats the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, like you said, for heavy music. It's just, there's this community feeling. There's this, I mean, there's something about a big old heavy metal show with pyro and stuff. It's something that you don't get anywhere else in terms of feelings and energy. So,
and even when it comes to the whole entire family-oriented feel behind it as well. Yeah, if for an outsider perspective, if all of a sudden you're going to like take like a bird's eye view of the show and you see a mosh pit going and you think people are trying to kill each other in that, just like the family vibe is there because it's totally organized chaos where the cardinal rule is if someone gets knocked down, you pick them up. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And
I think this is starting to be like more, like I think people even outside of alternative and metal music, I think they're starting to pick up on that a bit. Wouldn't you say? Like metal music, especially here in Europe, doesn't have as much of a bad reputation as it used to. So from this side, it's cool. It's cool to see.
I mean, from that side, I totally understand where you're coming from because if you go back maybe 20, 25 years, the reputation of it, especially over in Europe, is a completely different thing. Here in the U.S., again, 20, 25 years ago, it's a completely different thing due to the fact that it was the most prominent genre around. So there was a lot more focus in on it. But then as time has gone on, people are getting different things. Different genres became bigger. Pop music became a lot more electronic, a lot more synthesized. So people really jumping on that. Hip hop and rap exploded. And then again, different parts of the country, popular country music really took off as well. So that whole, whenever people are thinking about like the hardcore rock and metal fans, you're always thinking about the guys that are just like, oh, these guys are rough. Like these fans are rough, tough, they're mean. But you take a look at the whole entire aspect behind it. And when you hear people talk about it, it's like people ask, why you jump into a mosh pit? I'm like, because I enjoy doing it. For me, I love the energy behind it. If I'm at a show and all of a sudden there's a mosh pit that forms, there are times where all of a sudden like I'm on the edge. I'm like, man, when should I jump into this? Like I'm kind of nervous because I don't want to get like jump into and get blindsided right away. But I know right when I take that first hit from somebody, like my mind is just like my mindset just triggers. I'm like, I am ready to go. Let's do this thing. Like it just like sets something off where I am prepared for it. So there are times I'll just tell people to push me in. And it's like, okay, it's a friendly thing. Like all of a sudden, boom, I get pushed in. There's once my
trigger me, dude.
Yeah, there's once I did get completely blindsided and I got the wind knocked out of me and I got picked up right away. And they're like, "How you good?" I'm like, "I'll be good." Like a minute later, all of a sudden I'm flying around this thing, just having a blast. Like, yeah, of course, this is what I love to do. But again, it's that family vibe. It's that family mentality. Even a great example is I forgot what show it was at, but at the end of the band that was before the headliner, all of a sudden on the ground, we found like a wallet, some keys, someone's phone, and we don't know whose these are. And there was going to be no way to find this person. So we're trying to figure out how can we get somebody to know that, if they're probably losing their wallet, losing their phone, losing their keys, they're probably feeling around their pockets. They're probably having this moment of utter freaked outness, kind of like you did with the backpack thing.
Back to the beginning, yeah.
So what we ended up doing was we all started chanting, like in our area that we found it. Everyone around there started chanting like, wallet, wallet, wallet. Nice. So whoever knew could pick it up. And all of a sudden I look at them go like, that's my wallet. We're pointing at the guy like, yeah, come on. So the guy comes up and we're like, okay, the person who had it literally asked for like where the ID was, pull out the ID, put up next to the person's head, put the ID back in, gave him the wallet because it's like, okay, it's yours. Like we can tell now. It's like, okay, we found the other one though. This was here's like this. If this doesn't say family vibe, I don't know what does. This was Riot Fest in Chicago in 2019. It was Scene Rise Against. It was super duper hot outside, like super hot, super humid. And it was later in the day, so people have been waiting for this. And once the band started, everyone was packed in. There was really no movement, and honestly, people were kind of starting to pass out around us. Like, so in a room in a venue, or it was outside though, but like in a crowd that is so packed in, and people are having trouble and need medical attention. How can we get them this kind of a medical attention that they need because they passed out? But it's going to take forever for any security person or any medical personnel just to get through the crowd. How the hell are we going to take care of this? Yeah, we crowd surfed them in the front.
Oh my God.
Probably about 10 or 20 people we did this with. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know.
Respect them.
Could, I mean, was it maybe the best idea? Who knows if they had a potential injury or something? Who knows? But we need to find a way to get the medical attention as fast as possible. And when it came to how packed this show was, if we put somebody up and we crowd surf in the front, there is no way that they're not going to be held up throughout this whole entire thing. No one was dropped, and it was like, okay, this is worth it. Hell, I almost passed out myself as well. I'm like, I just need to find some air, and all I saw a nice mosh pit form next to me. I'm like, oh, open space and a mosh pit. I'm there. I get in, and all of a sudden it was like some kid kind of was like running right towards me. I'm just like, oh, this will be the first hit. Of course, full on mosh pit. Him and I go shoulder to shoulder together. We just go flying backwards, and I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm ready for the rest of this show. This was fun, but yeah, it's somewhere when it comes to live music, especially with rock and metal fans, there is such a family vibe there. And if you ever see like people that like start fights or anything like that, usually they get kicked out pretty quickly. Not only from if the band sees it, but like if the fans see it, it's like, okay, we know who was doing it. All of a sudden security's coming. Okay, who was fighting? Yeah, we're going to point you out right away because why are you trying to ruin the show for us, man? Like, why are you trying to do this?
I'm not even sure I've ever seen like a fight break out of the show personally. I'm thinking, but I don't think so. Like obviously it happened, like even at shows that I was at, but you know that's saying like how rare it is and how well taken care of it is most of the time. Yeah,
I've seen it happen once, and I was seeing Breaking Benjamin, so they were performing, and these two guys started fighting, and they had brought their kids with them. Their kids are maybe 8-9 years old. Yeah. Ben Burnley saw it, got absolutely pissed, and threw the two guys out of the show. Like he's like, I do not want you guys are gonna fight here. Like, why are you fighting here? Your kids are right there. So he took the two dads, threw them out of the show, and now what's gonna happen with the kids? Like they didn't do anything wrong. So
he put them side stage or something.
Put them side stage for the rest of the show, and everyone's just like, everyone in the crowd's like, now that was the move to make because now these dads are gonna be thinking, man, we just got kicked out of this show that we took our kids to because we were fighting over something stupid. Yeah. And now our kids are getting to. They're experiencing something they're going to remember for the rest of their lives because of our dumbass mistake, but we're not going to be part of it because of what we did.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit of a win if you think about it, but
it's still a bit of a win. But then, as a kid, you're always going to as a kid, you're still going to remember that your dad got into a fight at a show for some random reason, and it's usually over something real. It's usually something over real stupid. Either it's like, oh, he bumped into me. Yeah, you're at a rock show. The crowd's packed in there. Yeah, you're gonna get bumped into.
Sure.
Like there have been times where I think it was I forget who I was seeing, but like there was someone behind me that was like constantly elbowing me in the back of the neck. I'm like, dude, you gotta stop. And it was like because I was on the edge of the pit as well, but like I was on the edge, but there were like two people in front of me. They were kind of blocking me, so I couldn't even get into the pit. And this guy was like trying to nudge me. I'm like, dude, I can't really move. I can't really get in here. I want to. And I got pissed at one point. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I said, you want to get in the pit? Yeah, I literally said, okay. Told the guy next to me. We picked him up and we kind of launched him into the pit. We were like, okay, screw this. We launched more of the two people in the pit. And he's just like, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting hurt anymore. I'm not getting banged in the back of the neck anymore by this kid's elbow. This kid's in the pit. And now he's got a funny story about how we literally threw him in over people. Yeah, could have he gotten hurt? Maybe. We kind of waited for the right time for all of a sudden to have an opening. We're like,
probably not.
I mean, the kid was younger than me at that point. The kid might have been like 17, 18 years old. So yeah, he's pretty spry. If he was gonna get hit, nothing was gonna happen to him.
You're flexible at this age too, so
They're built like
fine.
rubber. They're built like rubber, honestly.
Yeah.
So one other thing I do want to talk about too is especially when it comes to your music, and I believe you guys release a brand new song during the pandemic?
We released our first release back was April 2021, so it was not like the heart of the pandemic, but still technically the pandemic.
It's still technically later on, and that was Seasick Sailor, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, want to make sure I remember that because like that when I came to trying to find out about your music, find out about your band, that was the song that I really ended up honing in on. I'm like, okay, this is the most recent one. I thought it had been released during the pandemic, but I thought it might have been like December 2020, January 2021.
No, it's still fairly recent, yeah.
Still fairly recent, but because I was listening to it, and I'm just like, like I really was trying to get into this song as well, so that we can kind of figure out exactly, you know, when it comes to the music of Resolve, presenting to the fans. What can they expect? What is it like? And I thought Seasick Sailor, I'm like, okay, it's the brand new one, but damn, was that song good.
Oh, thanks.
So one thing, because I always go through this incredible deep dive on the song, the first thing I always want to know about is like, when it comes to the song, what's the meaning behind it? And the reason I always wonder that is because if I try and figure out, then I can always tell like, okay, how do the instrumental progressions work? Because that always ends up telling a story about what the song is about and kind of lets you guide through in terms of, okay, here's what the meaning of the song is. Now, how are you going to take it in order to kind of focus in on your own life? Because, of course, we've all gone through different things in life when it comes to really taking the meaning of a song. Yeah, it can be something about something very specific in your world, and then I listen to it. It can have the same emotion at the base, but it's going to be very specific to what I went through as well. Yeah. So I'm always curious to see kind of what you guys meant by this whole entire song with Seasick Sailor, then what I took from it, and seeing, again, where this core matches up. But then, of course, we all live different lives, so when we get down to the specifics of it, that's where everything branches off. But then again, that's the beauty of music, where we can all connect to the same song in the exact same way, but through many different experiences.
Yeah, well, like the meaning behind Seasick Sailor, I think people like caught onto it pretty easily, because basically it's like the Seasick Sailor is just a metaphor. It's just a metaphor for it's ourselves. I mean, it's ourselves with like young adults in 2020, just trying to figure out the world that sometimes seems a lot like way too big for us to navigate, and just realizing that sometimes the best thing you do is just like surrender to the flow and just go with it, and you know, like pick up on the signals that life sends you, and pick up on the, you know, on like your karma and everything. Just accept that you cannot control everything, and just try to live your life as you see fit, following this basically. And also don't be afraid sometimes to take risk and jump in like head first, because that can pay off too. Like that thing that seems so intimidating and scary from the outside, like lots of the time, once you've done it, you're like, that was it. That's like, it was actually fairly easy. So yeah, that's basically the meaning of the song. And hopefully with the video, hopefully with the video, people can pick up on it and maybe relate.
Yeah, because where I was looking at it was, it kind of has that same feel where where I took it was, depend upon yourself in order to survive the trials and tribulations of life, where we just went through this whole entire pandemic thing where we were kind of isolated from everybody else. And yes, it is helpful to have other people in your corner, other people that in your support system that can help you through these things. But when it comes to making those certain leaps, like trying something and wanting to do something that, you know, you might be scared of doing, the person that's going to end up having to do that again is you. So depend upon yourself, depend upon the trust that you have within yourself to go through that, because shit's going to end up happening. You're going to need to overcome it. We do need that help from others, but this song takes a look at the inside of yourself to know that the most important person to help you in any sort of negative time in life or negative period of time is going to be yourself. And the reason for that is because no one can directly impact your life as much as you can. Because you're the one you're the one. I mean, heck, I want to impact my life by sending my left arm to the left. Boom. I just did it. Like, it takes...
I couldn't have made you do it. But I mean, I don't want to say that only you can make a change in your life, because honestly, I think sadly lots of people, I think it comes down also to self-love and self how would you say it? Like maybe self-forgiveness or something. The
Yeah.
English word like escapes me. But like I'm fine. Like thankfully I'm fine in my own shoes and in my own skin. But I also know that for a lot of people it's not the case. So to those people who want to say that it's fine too, and if you like sadly if you can't find the strength to love yourself for now, I think the tides will turn, and feel free to reach out to people as well to just get help, talk about this, and maybe spark that little something that makes you go, okay, now maybe I can take it from there and start like swimming towards the right direction.
Yeah, it's not saying that, you're the only person that can have that impact on you. It's what we're kind of saying is when it comes to the percentage of who can impact the most, of course, you're going to be the one that's going to be able to make the most impact. And when it comes to self-confidence, self-love, whatever it might be, that's going to really come from the inside of you. However, you don't have to be the sole reason behind why that happens. I mean, you can have the help of family and you're going to end up having the help of family and friends to maybe help you realize that, because maybe they realize something about yourself that you don't for a positive. It's like, okay, why do I have these friends that really care about me so much when I might be in this place where I really don't care about myself at all? And then you see the reasons what you do and how you act and who you are, and how it has a positive impact on the people around you. And that just ends up building up that it basically like primes your self-confidence and your self-worth. All of a sudden, now you start building on that yourself. And now you get to a certain point where you're one of the happiest people you've ever been, one of the happiest people you've ever met. And that positivity is just radiating throughout you. So it takes a look at, again, when it comes to making the changes in order to become the best person you can possibly be and really getting through the problems of life. Of course, you're going to be the most important person, but you're not the only person.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to realize that as well, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get stuck in your own mind. And just can see you can only see straight ahead and maybe lack perspective a bit. So.
Yeah, because even like for me, is like, I mean, I've gone through times in life where all of a sudden things have been absolutely just not good, horrible, depression hit, suicide tendencies hit. And it was like family and friends were there to kind of keep me going at one point. But then when it came to just trying to find something that was like, going to end up making me kind of just like connect with it more, but then also build up on myself once again, that's where music really came into play. But it was kind of like me finding music and really relating to it and really going forward with it. That's what ended up building up on it, again, being the most kind of like that most important part. But it would have never gotten there from where I was had it not been through family and friends support to kind of like, okay, you're not doing so well. It's like you're kind of stuck in your own head on this. Okay, let's take you out of that situation, maybe get you in a different space where we can have your mind just not think about that for a while, just kind of clear it in a way. And it's like, okay, like one of my friends went to go see stand-up comedy for a while. One of my friends, it's like, okay, we're going to go out to the bars here and there just once in a while. All right, we're going to go and play soccer here, play football actually, because, well, we'll use the proper term for it, play football, because I had to say soccer for all the American people. But it's like, okay, now my mind is able to kind of just forget for a little bit. But when I did a lot of those things, it was my mind still stuck in it. Going to a concert, though, and seeing the band perform live, that was probably the biggest thing, because they're like, okay, now my mind is completely away from all that stuff. And now I'm enjoying myself. And of course, when the show ends, I started thinking about that stuff again. But for an hour and a half, just having that removed completely is incredible. So again, when it comes to just getting through those trials and tribulations of life, you are the most important person to get yourself through those. But you're not the only person to get yourself through those. You do have the support system. That's kind of what Seasick really brings to the forefront here.
Exactly. Yeah. Good. Really like your interpretation. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I always like to look at the lyrics as much as possible and really kind of figure out, because there's so many different metaphors in there. It's okay, where is this coming from? But then again, a lot of it also comes from personal experience as well, because
and I think we can all relate to to different degree, but everyone has those struggles.
Yeah, everyone goes through some sort of trials and tribulations in life, but it's what we all go through is different. However, it's when you get down to the absolute bare bones basic of the concept, it's the same. And that's where you get a song that really connects with so many people, because we all connect with it at the core of it. But when we go to the specifics, that's where all our reasons change. I think Dave Grohl even said you can have 85,000 people at like a live show of his. He can have 85,000 people singing back a song to him that he's singing, but it's for 85,000 different reasons. And
Yeah,
that's where you
exactly.
get the impact from a song like this.
And that's the beauty of it too.
And
That's a cool quote.
And one thing I also saw as well was like, because when I was looking at some of the promo stuff for you guys, it was like, okay, what bands do they kind of have? Like, if you like these bands, like should you listen to Resolve? And the two bands I saw in there were Fit for a King and Bury Tomorrow. I'm just like, oh boy, because I did enjoy Bury Tomorrow's last record. When it came to Fit for a King, that one of the crazy shows I saw was like they were the opener before the headliner, and it was just somewhere I had never even heard of Fit for a King before. Listening to music, I'm like, this is fun as shit, and I was just having a blast with it. When it came to Seasick, I'm like, when I saw that comparison, I was like, I knew I was going to be in for something exciting. And after listening, I'm like, if you're a fan of Fit for a King or Bury Tomorrow and you haven't checked out Resolve, especially Seasick Sailor, what in the actual hell is going on here, guys? Because this song definitely fits that mold of, not, like this style, but it's like the emotions, the way it just flows. Like, if you're a fan of those bands, you're going to absolutely love this band.
Yeah, and let me tell you, like, C6 is a bit of a different, like, not really a different song for us, but obviously, like, it doesn't have that massive Fit for a King breakdown, or it doesn't have this big, like, metal riff from Bury Tomorrow. But there's a lot of stuff coming that are more, like, leaning more towards this side. So yeah, it was really nice also to see that, because we, like, our biggest song yet was a straight, like, metal song, like relentless and fast and everything. So we thought, you know what, let's just try something different for the next one, and try maybe and surprise people a bit, because most people probably expected us to just, like, stick to this very straight to the point heavy direction, but that's not something we really want to do. We want to keep it fresh and diverse. So yeah, it just made sense for us not to put ourselves into this too much of a, what's the word?
Kind of like putting yourself into a box.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally understand that too. And when it came to this song, because I'm taking a look at my notes here, like, was especially instrumentally when you got to the bridge, because compared to the chorus, like, the pace was kept overall at the instrumentals, but the guitars really dropped back to a softer style. The drums you enter a little bit later on in the bridge with this lighter build from the cymbals. And I'm like, especially with that building feel that you guys went from the verses into the chorus, I'm like, we're getting that again here. I'm not expecting, but I'm expecting them to have more of the same tone on the chorus they did the outro, like, kind of like outroing the song with that bridge.
Yeah.
I'm like, in the outro for the first half, we get that, like, this in the, like, what was I say? And in the outro for the first half, we get just that in the end with a little bit more of melodic pacing compared to the chorus. But again, it does make sense because you're giving the outro of this song after this more grander feel to it. So you're not bringing in that, like, heavy breakdown, that heavy, like, riff style, but you're still having that emotion, that feel to your core. So it does understand. And then, like, you get to the second half, you turn up the intensity with the heavier guitars and the drumming with more melodic pacing to really let this thing soar in the outro. So you do end up bringing some of the heavier stuff as well, but instead of being a full-on breakdown, it's kind of like you're building up this song again to really send it out on a high note. So you're not really kind of like just heavy hitting it. It's like, okay, you're sending it. So it's like, you're ready. It's basically like, as this song ends, you feel like you're absolutely ready for the next thing that's going to come up, whatever it might be. So in a live setting, you play Seasick Sailor, it's kind of, it feels like you can really follow this song with anything. This song is an ultimate wild card in the set, because whatever you put after it, especially after the way that outro ends up building you up and letting it soar, it feels like no matter what you go with, especially if it has, like, a lot of energy behind it, you're going to end up creating this, like, overall great flow on a show. Yeah,
we can't wait to play this one live, because that's exactly what was our thoughts exactly. So it's probably gonna be really fun.
You're gonna have to play this one live, man. And
we will for sure.
And I hope to God I get to see it at some point, because, well, that just sounds like fun. It really does.
Hopefully it will. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll end up being in, like, not 2021, but 2022, because I know I want to go. I plan going back to Europe in 2022 at some point. Of course, once, everything kind of gets back with COVID, everything's off the table with that. All these live shows are coming back. And then it's like, okay, well, I want to go back over here because I had so much fun there last time. There's so many bands I know now that are over there. I want to see as many as possible. And it's just because, well, you guys all make kick-ass music. I want to be in the crowd for it. And if I end up getting a mosh pit, all of a sudden, my head gets split open because I have a huge cut right here from the mosh pit, you're going to see me looking like I'm having a good time. I might look beat up, but I'm having a great time.
I'm fine, guys. I'm fine.
I've told that to people before. It's like, all of a sudden, if I'm at a show and you notice me and all of a sudden I'm in a pit and I just get knocked down, I start bleeding. It's like, okay, is he okay? Even if I leave on a stretcher, you're going to see me going like, It's good. The only reason I'm leaving on a stretch is because they called one. or they're making me. Because I've been to shows before where I've gotten a huge cut right above my left eye. And then I stuffed a bunch of like paper towel up there and then took a piece of someone's shirt and tied it around my eye. So I looked like a pirate.
That's badass, man.
And I didn't jump in the pit though because I was afraid it was going to open up again. I don't want to bleed over everybody.
Yeah.
I was still on the edge of the pit though, pushing people back in because I'm like, this is the next best thing I can do is to prevent myself from potentially bleeding over everybody. But I still look like a pirate. I'm like, man, I kind of want to do that again. Okay, maybe not bleed that much, but look like a pirate at a show.
Yeah, just look just dress like a pirate and it'll be all good.
I'm gonna have to go see Ailstorm, not Hailstorm, Ailstorm, the pirate hard rock band.
You probably won't be the only one, just like a pirate there.
No, I probably won't be, but I think it'll be hilarious. But one thing I want to say is, so when it comes to like songs, I know we didn't go that deep into Seasick, but I always like to do an overall kind of summation of it for everyone that's listening. So here's what I wrote for Seasick Sailor. Overall, Seasick Sailor ended up being a song that really surprised me. When I first saw the comparison to Fit for a King and Bury Tomorrow, I had some excitement to what I was going to get myself into. Listening to the song, the first verse really created this building feel to the whole entire song that we were going to get something that had a lot of energy and raw power behind it. But it also left the door open for something with a lot of pace and even a lighter sound as well. I was surprised that lighter sound and faster pace was the payoff when I was hoping for something a little bit on the heavier side. But the second verse really took care of that, bring back that heavier side as well. So you're seeing a whole entire duality within the song where the chorus really makes a lot of sense after you listen to like that. The first verse of the chorus and the second verse comes in, you can get that heaviness in there and then the chorus can come in and everything's going to make sense. And then the bridge and the outro is really going to send you like up on this high note at the end. So it was one hell of a flowing song that fans, I think if you're fans of Fit for a King or Bury Tomorrow, you should definitely check this track out if you haven't yet.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin.
No, you're very welcome. And Robin, as we bring this podcast to a close, one thing I always like to do is give you a chance to say whatever you want to say. If you want to promote anything you want to promote, perfect time to do it. I'll have it labeled in the podcast for everyone to check it out. So, Robin, floor is yours.
When is this released? Do you know?
Right now I'm thinking sometime in July. Its reason being is because I have over the past like 2.5 weeks before this, I had a chance to record a lot of these episodes and a lot of great bands. So I'm just hitting them.
Just wanted to make sure what I could say, but what I said, well then, so we spoke about Seasick Sailor, and you can just check out our new single, which is called Beautiful Hell, which we released on June 11th. So it should be still fairly fresh when people see this. And we really like this one too. It's a bit more on the heavier side, like a lot more on the heavier side.
Ooh, yeah.
And we really love the music video for this one as well. So yeah, we're excited for it to release.
What was the name of that song?
I mean, sorry?
What was the name of that song again?
Beautiful Hell. Beautiful Hell.
Well, the reason we write that down is because when I put the video together for this,
yeah, sure,
I can actually put it below. I can say Beautiful Hell, go stream that bad boy now.
Cool. Yeah. And yeah, like same like I was mentioning earlier, for people who haven't seen it yet, check out our live set on YouTube. It's on Landmark's YouTube channel, but I think you can just like Google Resolve a live stream show or something. And yeah, we're really proud of this one as well. And yeah, I think by July I can say that a bigger announcement is on the horizon. I'm not gonna dip my toes too much on this because it's still a bit unsure. But yeah, I mean we should have good news all over the year. So yeah, just check us out and follow us on Instagram and yeah, stay connected with us.
Alrighty, now it's time for me to end this podcast with my 3 things. So we just talked about the fact that they're going to have Beautiful Hell up by the time this podcast releases. Mm-hmm. There might be some grand, announcement that might have come up during this time. Might be on the horizon. You never really know. So you guys are going to want to stay in touch with Resolve, right? You're going to want to know when this stuff comes out. You're going to want to listen to music. You're going to want to watch their videos on YouTube. You're going to want to check out that live stream they did with Landmark. So I know what you're thinking, Kevin, why the hell do we have to search for all this stuff? Can you just do what you normally do? Go in the description of the podcast, say find Resolve online, have every single link there possible for us to just click on and follow. Even when it comes to that live stream link as well with Landmarks, you just have the video link there as well. Well, duh, of course that's what I'm going to do. So take a look at the description of the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart Radio. Everything will be there for you as well, so you can follow along with the band. Make sure you stay in touch with any announcements. You can stream that live show as well. And also you can stream their music at any point as well, Spotify or Apple Music. And then find them online, buy some merch. I'll have that there too. Sure. I mean, why wouldn't you want to support that? Now, the second one is, now, Robin, I know if you're from France, me being from the US, might be a little bit difficult to make this happen, but I will keep this promise. So whenever I have a band on the podcast that I absolutely enjoy having on, I make a certain promise. This happens 100% of the time. This is no different here. This is not an if. This is not an if. This is a when. I get to see you perform live for the first time, whether it's over here in the United States, whether it's over in Europe, wherever it might be. The promise is this. First round's on me.
Oh, sick, man. Well, the second on us then.
Oh, it better happen. Again, I'm planning on coming over to Europe in 2022. Maybe
you should come for festivals like in the summer or something. The odds might be greater for us to meet there.
I'll say we'll see what happens because I'm usually doing stuff around the summer here. If it's any time, I might be like May of 2022 or September of 2022. So maybe after the festivals get ended and everyone kind of gets back into the go playing club scenes again. That might be what happens. Again, I'm not entirely sure. It's all dependent upon what happens. So,
yeah. I mean, would it have been any other year? We could have just like scheduled something, but at the moment, everything's still like there's still a lot of moving parts. So,
yeah,
that's a when, not an if. This I get.
Yeah. It's a when. It's 100%. A when, not an if. Because hell, even if I end up over in Europe and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you guys are playing a show that's not in France, but say you're playing in Germany or something. Oh shoot, I might be going to Germany at that exact same time. Perfect.
Yeah. Then we still got time, so
yeah. Then I have to buy one of those big Stein mugs of beer for you guys. Like, okay, here we go. Cheers. Woo! And just have a great time with that.
Exactly.
All right, Robin. So as we close this podcast, because that promise is there, because we're going to keep in contact with you guys, because we're going to keep tabs on you with especially some bigger announcements coming up, I cannot end this podcast with goodbye because that just doesn't seem right. So I'm going to end it with, see you later.
Bye, man. Thank you for having me. It was good.
Whoa, folks. This is my review with Robin from the band Resolve out of France. Again, anything you know about the band when it comes to their brand new song, Beautiful Hell, when it comes to listening to Seasick Sailor, buying their merch, checking out the live stream they did with Landmarks. That's a little precursor for you guys. When it comes to checking out all of that stuff, you can check it out in the description of the podcast below under Find Resolve Online. I'm going to have all the links there for you. Go check them out. Again, if you're a big fan of a band like Fit for a King or Bury Tomorrow, Resolve is going to be another one of those bands that you're going to want to get into fully, and you're going to want to make sure you check them out when they come to a city near you, especially if you're over in Europe. This is definitely a band you're going to want to check out. If you're over in the United States, it might be a little bit of time before they make it over by us, but doesn't mean you can't stream their music and check it out right now. That's the beauty of the internet, folks. You can check out all this stuff. I want to thank Robert for being on the podcast. Again, please follow everything and keep tabs on Resolve going forward. When it comes to the Chord Progression podcast, if you're a longtime listener, if you're a subscriber, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart because I love doing this stuff and I'm going to keep rolling. If you're not subscribed to the Chord Progression podcast, whether on the MSOD Rocks YouTube page, whether on the Chord Progression podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeart Radio, please go and do that right now. I want to thank you for that as well, preemptively. And on that note, that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression podcast by MSOD Rocks, Rock Metal Thrives. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. I'm big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!